On today's episode of Strange New Aliens, we have Captain Ridley Spock invading a crashed spaceship filled with aliens. What is your feelings on this, Kyle? Did you enjoy Aliens?
I did enjoy the anal bursters. I don't remember those, but
The
it was a nice
prolapsers,
to see.
yes.
The progressive prolapsers, as it were. I'm like, where? Like, poop? Oh, wow, that's a surprise.
It was. See, Kyle was sitting there being all like silly like this is just a rip-off of Aliens. This is gonna have a chest burster. I'm like, no, it's not gonna be a chest burster. And he wasn't, as the alien burst forth from his ass.
Hey, four of them burst out. One burst out of his shoulder, one burst out of his tummy, close enough to his chest, and the other one burst out of his asshole. But that's besides the point.
Oh, heavens. Alright, so this episode is the weakest so far by quite a stretch because we are reaching Obi-Wan Kenobi levels of plot contrivance here and just general idiocy. And there are so many stupid things to talk about here, it's almost exhausting. First and foremost, we've got the usual, of course. The show does not miss a singular, solitary opportunity to mock and denigrate Spock. Not a one. They're having a little bit of a retard meeting here, right? And Captain Pike is like, Spock, wash the dishes for me. And Spock's like, Spock.
Spock, I'll wash dishes for you, Captain. Captain, thank you for giving me the privilege. He looks at the captain, like, oh, what? Okay, I mean, I guess. The entire, this is the problem with the show, though. It feels like Spock, they're like, oh, let's show his human nature. Look, he's a young, incompetent idiot. That makes him likable, right?
That makes him relatable.
That's a good Spock, right? Look at him be stupid and do stupid human things. And, completely forgetting what a Spock is, but details.
Speaking of Spock, we shall have ritualist Spock here. He's a better Spock.
Spock. We have Spockamon. There you go.
Meanwhile, while Spock is washing the fucking dishes, the female crew just sits around eating brunch or something, adding to Spock's burdens.
No one likes Spock in this show. What the fuck?
They really, really goddamn don't. Okay, and it just doesn't end. Like, again, we mentioned this previously, how whenever Spock comes up with somebody else finishes his sentence. Of course, that happens again. Spock like, oh, but that would mean, and Uhura goes like, shut up, alien. That would mean, Captain, that the ship's internal blah, 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 are offline.
I picture Spock's actor being like, that was my part of the script, though.
that was mine.
Like it says it's supposed to lead, and they like spit on him like.
Okay, Spock, know your place, scum.
Trash.
Okay, they also introduce us to two pieces of meat at the beginning of the episode. One of the two pieces of meat is promoted to ensign. No, promoted from ensign to lieutenant. Lieutenant, yes. Yep. And Spock calls him an ensign. And it's like, Spock, you wouldn't forget this. Like, Spock would not forget somebody's rank that was handed out hours previously. And again, it's just another cheap shot at Spock. It's just another moment where the show is like, hey, this is an opportunity to make Spock look like a tard. Let's take it.
Oh, now Spock, you owe him a beer, ha ha ha, because you called him, you stupid idiot. And Spock's like, oh, humans are so silly and weird with their alcohol. Whoa. They have a whole fucking line about that. Oh my goodness.
I hate it. I hate this Spock so much.
It's tragic what they've done to Spock. They really have just sort of like pissed and shat on him, then dragged him through a rug. And in today's episode, more than usual, by the way. Like, a lot.
They just don't stop shitting on him. Like, the only redeeming quality that remains of Spock now is that you can cut the violent sexual tension between him and Nurse Chapel with a knife at this point. Like, I'm surprised the other people in the room just don't start gagging from the pheromones. Like,
Yep, you can definitely tell that they're gonna fuck at some point, and that's gonna be the reason why his wife left him, because he cheated on her, unironically. Like, It's getting there. It's getting there, and it's like they're always alone in a room together, going like, "Oh, Spock, embrace your human side." Shut up.
Yep.
Shut up.
Always,
Shut up about embracing your human side. Fuck off.
always half flirting to on the one hand, credits to the actors because again, you can cut the sexual tension between these two with a knife. But at the same time, I am actually starting to hate this storyline now because I can see how this is going to evolve. They're gonna have Spock's gonna have a freak out moment. He's gonna lose control of his emotions, and he's gonna go like, "Nurse Chipper, I can't control my emotions." He's like, "Spock, you're only human." And then they're gonna viciously bang, loudly, angrily, violently. Pike in the next room will just be holding his pillow over his head as you just hear thump, 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 thump.
Dump, 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 dump. He's like, "Spy Spock, Spock, Spock." He's using his Spock, his little Spock.
Like, "Spock, could you stop it? You make me feel like less of a man." Dump, 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 dump.
He's just power fucking in the other room.
That's looking very
Goddamn
angry.
though. That's seriously where this is going though, and you can see it a mile away, and you just don't want it to. You just don't want
to
it
be very sad. Pringles will be disappointed.
Pringles will be like, "But I thought you were gonna smash my Pringles," and they'll be like, "No, I like Chapel more now."
Spock, when I suggested we smash, you gave it up. You told me we shouldn't smash it.
Oh my god,
Goddamn Pringles.
this is stupid. You've ruined this show for me. Not that it was doing itself any favors, but fucking Pringles and Spock or Spockamon or whatever the fuck. Then we got Little Piker. Fucking Christ.
We just okay, and then that's gonna chase Pringles into the waiting arms of Bok, and then they're just gonna have like an NTR showdown.
Like, "I'm gonna cuck my wife harder than she's gonna cuck me," and they're like trying to cuck each other to death.
Like, "Spock, this is I fucked your brother because you fucked that nurse." Like, "Spock, Bok. Pringles.
Bok, Pringles. Chapo. Everyone's a Pokemon in this universe.
God, I hate this Spock so much. But okay, right. What's else on the goddamn menu today? Uhura. Oh god, Uhura. I hate Uhura too.
God, she went back. She went back. Her character regressed today.
Yes, we begin the episode with Uhura going like, "So, I breezed my way through Starfleet. Like, I'm surrounded by the elites of the elite. All of these people worked incredibly hard. I just kind of ended up here because I'm so goddamn brilliant. Okay, and I want to go away now because I don't fit in no more. Okay, I don't fit in. More pressure."
The worst line in today's episode. Sam, the guy with the weird pencil mustache, says to her, basically along the lines of, "There's nothing you can't," or was it? I'm paraphrasing. Like, "There's nothing you can't do," and she's like, "Yeah."
You really can do anything, or something like that, yes.
"You really can do everything," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm a Mary Sue." Smiles.
So I just expect the scene to cut to him just going down on her eating out her asshole with tomatoes and ketchup, a little bit of salad inside.
I didn't need this mental
Digging
imagery
in
right now. It's all Cybok box fucking tension, okay? It's sexualizing the show. We need to make it stop.
It's tossing the salad. You know, tossing one salad is when you have your ass eaten out, either with ketchup or syrup. And Uhura prefers
God
syrup.
help me. God help me, Jen.
And
There's no God.
And suddenly, too, I'm getting very suspicious around the time where Hammer is looking at her and having this out of nowhere philosophical debate with her. Like, "Listen, it's gonna hurt when you get to know people, but it'll be way better when you get to know them because the pleasure will outweigh the pain." Like, where the hell is this coming from? And he's like, I'm gonna die today. That's why.
I'm gonna die later, by the way. That's why I'm getting super philosophical and giving you big character movement, like dialogue that'll help your character along the line when I die. And she's like, "Okay, that's random. Okay, but thanks."
Like, genuinely.
Right before he gets spit on.
He's saying, "But the love it yields will far outweigh the sorrow. Uhura, you must stay with Starfleet." Uhura. I hate hate this so much. And, of course, so this is also a Gorn episode, because we know this, because Leonian Singh pops up on the scene almost immediately and goes, I'm the person who hates the lizards.
I hate space geckos.
I hate space geckos. They get in everywhere.
They're gross, and they crawl around and go rear, and they spit on people, and they burst out Uranus.
Poom on people, actually.
Fucking inconvenient it is.
So,
oh, God.
They need to go to a crashed spaceship that has been eaten by the Gorn. They don't know that yet. And they can't bring the entire crew, like with Marines and security personnel and orbital support, because the Enterprise is required to carry out another fetch mission, which seems to be the only thing the Enterprise ever does. The Enterprise, we're running out of fuel for our generators. Come quick. Enterprise, we're running out of batteries for our space station. Enterprise, we're running out of coffee.
I mean, basically, like, oh, it's not the coffee this time, Enterprise. We forgot the coffee filters. Oh my God.
So they have to head on to the planet, and they found the crashed spaceship, which is nice and intact for everything considered.
Pretty, basically undamaged almost.
Yes, and they find a severed human arm outside just to be like, so there's gonna be something creepy here, right? Yeah.
Like, oh, that's strange. So they just keep going, and like, as they're tiptoeing over bodies, it's like, oh, there's a pile of dead bodies. Oh, look at all of them eviscerated. There might be something wrong, Captain. It's like, no shit.
Goddamn Piker leans down, sees a mangled, it's a mangled corpse. Something's off. This isn't usual Federation procedure.
Completely ignoring the blood splatters everywhere. Like, when they enter the ship, there's blood splatters all over all the panels that Piker's interacting with on the walls, and like hand smears and stuff. And he's like, he doesn't say a thing about it until he walks down the hallway.
Still okay.
And then sees a dude that's laying there who's just laying there dead, and he's like, a mangled corpse, even though he's just laying there, like, with his eyes closed, not even mangled, with like a small pool of blood.
It's dumb. And again, everyone knows what's going on here. It's the goddamn Gorn again. I mean, so they run into a blue troll fish person who menaces them with a stick for a while. And Uhura again goes like, Uhura, figure out what he's saying. Uhura, it doesn't work like that. And then Uhura figures out what he's saying because it does work like that.
It doesn't work like that. Oh, guys, put your guns down. And they do the thing and stereotype that every sci-fi show does that I hate, where they set their guns on the ground and then they actually walk away from their guns into the next scene in the room to follow the alien. And they don't show them picking up their guns until like they have the guns teleported back to their hands later in a different scene.
And the worst part, too, is like they're like, oh, we can't make ourselves understood with the blue alien thing. Turns out blue alien thing understands English because there's a child who speaks to blue alien thing later on.
Yep. And the child is totally not the child from Aliens. It's totally not at all just fucking ripped off from the Aliens. At all. Her entire presence on that episode is like a big giant face hitting, like, nod to Aliens, and it comes off as annoying, if anything.
Yeah. They find a child. The child's retarded because Leonian Singh is the only sensible person here who's like, hold on, like, I know the Gorn. They literally had me on their rape planet for a while, okay? Like, are you infected? And the rest of the crew is like, Leonian Singh, how could you ask them that? It's very personal, don't you know? Pregnancy is nothing to joke about. And they chase her out of the room, and of course the blue guy's infected.
Yep, so she was actually right, by the way. It's like, how dare you ask him and being infected, and then it's not like this is a danger to the person that could be infected or anything.
No, she's right on the money. And when blue guy is about to pop his cherry out his bumhole, she just hides, like, she doesn't tell the other personnel in the room, like, so, by the way, he's about to give birth to monsters, maybe we should, hide.
A little girl, instead of being like, he's infected, and screaming it, because she notices, she sits there, lets the guy spurg out for like 30 minutes about, because he's dying, and then crawls away and hides and lets the random Starfleet member that joined them on today's mission die.
Yes, so Meat 2 is in the room, diddling with something, and Meat 2 is then eaten by the Gorn babies, who are like the size of geckos, like tiny little goddamn lizard things.
Little baby geckos.
And somehow they kill her.
They kill her, they like bite her, and she's like, ugh, and then falls over dead. Like, I literally, when we were watching that scene, I rubbed my eyes, and when I was done, she was dead.
Like, she's just lying there in an enormous pool of blood. Nurse Chapel is like, just standing as they're staring at them, like, hold on. That's weird.
This is the problem. These little big Gorn babies are so dangerously violent and like powerful that they can like manhandle grown men. That's like mass and physics. Like, no, that just doesn't work that way.
And that's, of course, before we even get into the Gorn. Okay, so the Gorn. The fucking Gorn. So, the Gorn have been biologically created. They're invisible to all scanners, biologically. They're invisible to telepathy, biologically. And they're born super intelligent. Like, okay, right, very well.
They kind of just feel like they have a lot of powers for the sake of having all these powers, but the minute like these powers would come in handy for them, they don't work. Just sort of die.
It's
barely an inconvenience.
It's just stupid. And they are also hyper aggressive because they kill each other until there's only one left. Like, okay, how did these build a society? How did they create spaceships? Like, how do they exist?
Well, you see, they did it in clusters of 4, so eventually, they built a society with all the alphas at the top.
And eventually all of the Gorn adults just joined together and was like, no, killing each other is fucking stupid. We should be friends.
Maybe our society is a little bit flawed, and our procreation method is kind of dooming our species to extinction at some point. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, and of course, part of their procreation too is they must come on aliens to infect them with their babies.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna cum on you, like, pee, and I spit it.
So there's a Gorn, and he comes on Hemmer, and Hemmer's like, oh my god, I've been impregnated, which he has. But
I'm gonna be a mother.
He's gonna be a mother, but he saved Uhuru, much to our regret.
He did, unfortunately.
So now he can end his little retarded life bravely and brilliantly and stuff. And luckily, thank God, the Gorn never again used the cum attack on any of the other members of the crew, because they would have been damned sad if it just had cummed on all of them and they'd all be dead.
They'd be like, oh crap, we've all been impregnated. How much you want to bet this cum tactic, it's fucking stupid, is gonna be like, it's only gonna be when it's convenient.
The cum tactic
I wouldn't be surprised if they never did it again.
It will only be applied on meat. So we also mentioned there's 2 meat characters. So meat 2 was already eaten.
Yep,
And meat
by another
1,
little bun.
Meat 1 has burned himself for some reason, and he's sitting in the most horror movie cliche position imaginable in front of a chute. And you're like, goodbye, Meat 1. You were fat.
With a dark thing. He's like, I got my promotion. I got 4 days till my pension. And then he's like, ah! It's like this tiny little alien grabs him by the shoulder, bites, and blood squirts out, and then drags him into the darkness. When he's like a kind of a fat dude. And this little tiny alien just, because that's how mass works. And it just can drag him into the darkness, even though he's struggling and screaming and everyone's trying to help him.
Yep. Meanwhile, of course, Piker is standing there with his phaser assault rifle thing, going like, I could shoot them, but I never really liked Meat 1. I didn't want him to be a lieutenant.
Well, I was afraid he was going to take my position as captain. Don't want him to outperform Piker. Lets him get dragged off and killed. He's like, that's one competition dealt with.
Goodbye, Meat 1. You were superfluous to requirements. And there was one. Spock has him by the hand. And again, the Vulcans are pretty goddamn physically strong. Like, they're pretty fucking solid people. And he just lets him get dragged away.
Yep, because this tiny little fucking gecko has more strength than 2 grown-ass men.
The best part is, like, so I'll be showing this on screen now, and you might be able to see it, you might not, because of how YouTube behaves with dark and blurry imagery, but there is nothing dragging him on screen. There is no geckos anywhere nearby. He's just sliding off into the darkness by himself.
He's like,
whilst Piker fires at him. Meat 1, I'll put you down for good, bitch. Pew, pew.
He's like, Rico, you know what to do.
At the end, Piker stands there like, we need to alert the rest of the crew. He looks over at Spock, and I half feel like Spock's like, Captain, you let that man die.
He's like, I'm going to report this to Starfleet, Captain.
That was very illogical behavior.
Why didn't you help him, Piker? He's like, Spock, but not now. We're in a situation.
Like Spock, he never flushed. Ever.
He left skid marks, Spock. He never double flushed.
He was a menace to the crew, Spock. I did the only thing that was right.
You know me, Spock. I always bring expendables on these missions. But Captain, you always bring me.
So, luckily,
he just smiles.
With the meat shields out of the way, we can finally get on with a plan here. Now, you've got half a dozen presumably trained individuals here, including a Vulcan, who, by the way, is perfectly comfortable in being a bait and trying to take one of these things on with a spear. No issues. In fact, the gecko is afraid of him. Spock, you gotta like fight it or something. Like, look weak. Spock, fine, I'll be pissy for a bit.
He's like, I'm gonna use my human emotions. I'm sad about the fat guy dying that I never knew. Like, unironically. That was his reason. He's like, me too, or one. I don't remember which one you died that I cared about. I can't even get them right.
But instead of just shooting these aliens, right? Because they've got, all of them have got assault rifle things, they've got Spock's Tardo Electro Spear, and there's only one of them left, because the Gorn have conveniently eaten one another, so there's just one left. They could just hold up in a room and just wait, you know? And if it shows up, they just blast it, all of them on full auto, or they just leave, and they drag the ship out into space, which they do later on, by the way, and then just vent the ship entirely into space, killing it too, because they're weak to cold. They could literally just
take care of it.
They could literally just turn down the AC. There you go. You're fucking done. Problem dealt with. There are a myriad ways to deal with this enemy. They choose to ignore all of them, and instead, they have Leunian Singh there, standing in the open, throwing away her pistol, because the gecko even knows what a pistol is, apparently.
I'm unarmed, come and get me, and then it chases it, but of course it doesn't catch her. She gets to the magical triangle, crawls into the triangle, and then Hammer presses a button, which somehow a vent of ice coolant only dumps on the spot where the gecko was. Like, their plan entirely hinged on the fact that the gecko would jump on top and try to get inside the box.
And so
that's really stupid.
It's not really a triangle, Kyle, you tard. It's more like a hexagon thing, okay?
Hexa-triangle, there we go. Compromise. Hexagle.
And yeah, they deal with it in the most contrived way imaginable. It's so dumb. They could just shoot it. And they make the excuse, it's too agile for us to shoot.
Agile, my ass. Like
hold
blanket
the
fire.
Trigger down and hose. It's fine.
If all of you are firing down a corridor, that thing ain't dodging every bolt. Like, it's gonna get smacked.
It's not a problem. And then they do that thing in the horror movies where they goes like, oh, we did it, guys, that's the last of them. And Leunian Singh turns around, looks at Hammer and goes, not quite.
Not quite. Okay, this is one problem I have with this whole sequence. So Hammer's been infected with these things. They know how the infection thing works now, and they did. So it's like, they know that he was impregnated, and they all the medical characters say, well, we can remove the eggs, Hammer, don't kill yourself. And Hammer's like, no, I'm gonna kill myself. And it's like, okay, whatever, like, it's too late now. But how come during all that time, all this planning, they had access to the medical room, they didn't remove the eggs that they knew how to remove? They just sort of let them grow inside of them till it was too late.
Well, they're probably just spitballing, like desperate, like, we can fix you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I'm sure you could if you had more time, but you see, well, we said that it took days for them to, impregnate a human, but it's been hours for me, and, I'm just really compatible. I'm easily impregnable.
And then he wobbles over to the hangar door and he fucking like wobbles out and like turns around, looks at him, and he's like, "I'm gonna die." And then he fucking falls backwards and wiggles his legs as he falls.
It goes outside. He can kill himself. And this is done entirely so that Uhura can go like, "Oh my god, you're right. It is painful to lose those you love, but the bonds are so much stronger."
And as he's falling, he's like, "I did this so your character could learn this lesson. I could have lived."
I die for your sins, Uhura. Uhura.
And then I like the scene where she gets back in the ship after everything's all fine, and she looks at her station and she smiles like, "Yeah, he's dead. I'm happy now."
She looks so thoroughly pleased with herself. I'm pretty sure she was just a human supremacist all along, and she's finally, the filth has been eradicated off this ship.
I hate Andorians, and if they're not all dead on this ship, I'm leaving. That was the reason why she was going to leave, by the way.
Right, finally,
she's
there's no more goddamn alien. Spock doesn't count because he's like, my missions.
Yeah, he's basically human at this point, so she's like, that's perfect.
My plastic ears and my missions. And she has this scene where she walks onto the bridge, and again she looks pleased with herself. She's like, yes, pure.
It's like this is a bit fucked up show. Like, this is a bit fucked up. She's like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay on the ship. I'm too perfect for the crew. And then the Andorian dude's like, I'm gonna die for your sins. And then he does that. And she's like, you know what? I feel pretty good. Like, maybe more of the crew will kill themselves for me. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her?
Finally, the alien taint is gone.
Yes. Oh my god, that's how she does it. She endears herself to the aliens, so they sacrifice themselves for her.
Pretty
Clever.
vicious survival strategy right there.
That's a human supremacist for you. They're pretty smart, pretty clever.
And we get rid of Launian Singh too, because she takes pity on the girl who's like, I'm a little girl, I killed half of your crew by not telling you that the man was pregnant. And they're just like, my god, little girl, we feel sympathy for you. I'm gonna leave the Enterprise for a bit and bring you home. And it's just sitting there like Piker's having a nice big drink, chugging it back on. Finally. I never thought she'd leave.
Only a few more female crew members to dispose of, and it'll be a misogynist ship before long.
The sacrifice of Hemmer was unfortunate, but I sacrificed one for one. I can live with this odds.
Yeah, this is a good trade by any Piker day. Piker's a little retarded.
To be fair, if the show purges most of its female crew members, I'll actually be quite happy with that, because they're kind of shit, most of them.
God, like the first officer, she's awful. Like, she just comes off as a Karen. And then you got the pilot girl or whatever, where she gives the eulogy for Hemmer, and I just feel like Hemmer in his little coffin thing is like rotating, like he's like, ugh, cringe, like, ugh, stop, and she's like, Hemmer was blue, and that's cool, and
literally. Listen, that her speech, her emotional speech for Hemmer is like, Hemmer was a pretty good engineer person, because I'd be like raiding the engines way too hard because I'm a fucking amateur pilot, and he'd be like, stop it, whore, and then she'd be like, no, you blue pussy, and there you go, that's the eulogy, and then we'd laugh. Okay.
And then we'd laugh, and we were really good friends, and he totally liked me. I think.
Hemmer's picture begins to visibly frown.
So, the worst part is Hemmer is kind of like a character that I was kind of hoping they'd explore more, but never mind.
There's just this creepy little scene where Uhura's like, I never told Hemmer, but he reminded me a lot of my dad, and I'm sitting there thinking like, did you kill your father too?
Like, is this something you do to father-like figures?
Like,
Piker, be careful.
your mother and your father both died under mysterious circumstances.
I'm starting to connect the dots here.
As she smiles.
And she smiles, too. That's the worst part. It's not a normal smile, a person smiling. She's like, yes. She's like, perfect, I'm settling in. She's planning her next victim, whoever's fatherly to her. Maybe Dr. Mabenga, he's a father-type figure.
Yes, he's probably next on the shopping block. Meanwhile, Spock is having emotions again. Fucking Spock. I hate Spock.
Spock's like, I'm just gonna be, basically a whiny girl.
Yep. He's gonna be, because he and Nurse Chapel are gonna get it on. Again, of course, that's the thing. The sexual tension. Cuttable. Sliceable.
Choppable. Maybe.
They stare into each other's eyes. I can't control myself, Nurse Chapel. I can't.
I just gotta get me that human pussy so I can feel emotion.
I can't control it. Spock, bedroom now.
Let me explain to you your human emotions in my bedchamber, Spock.
God. As much as I called this pairing, I condemn it.
Chapel is a homewrecker, an actual homewrecker.
Maybe
I don't like her.
The moment she gets him, she'll just dump him because I have what Pringles had now. I'm satisfied.
Yep,
Yeah,
but after
human.
she sabotages Pringle's relationship with Spock.
Okay, right. After the whole thump, 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 and Piker being sad, right? We're then gonna go to the Vulcan homeworld, and they're gonna do that thing where Pringles and Spock is gonna get married, and Pringles will be like, Pringles. Translates roughly into, I know you cucked me, Spock. I choose another for my husband, and we shall have the Tukmak Rock thing for Vulcan honor duel thing.
And then Cybok appears as
Yes,
the bitch.
Cybok. With the Imperial March playing in the background as he marches in.
Fucking why?
Then they'll fight a little bit, and Spock will lose. He'll be on the ground eating dust, on all four, looking at Pringles. Why? Pringles and Cybok just walks off in the distance. Pringles looks back like Pringles.
Good Pringo. Don't worry, he'll get Chapel in the end, and then Chapel will be sleeping around, and that's why he's single.
Chapel will bend down over him and put a hand on his shoulder. He'll look up, smile, Spock. And she'll just be like, I'm sorry, Spock, I did this to you. You'll never see me again. I can't live with myself. Leaves.
I can't live with myself. Jumps off a cliff, because rational
I always
characters
do this. This is my 7th relationship that has ended in this.
I just keep ruining people's relationships. I don't understand. I get really close to them and touch them and, put my face close to theirs and say, fuck me.
I'm sorry, Spock. Married men are just so not.
Now I need to move on to the next one. Piker, do you have any relationships I need to ruin? Chapel just asks casually. It's like, no.
So, Piker, how's your relationship with number 2? Pretty good. It just smiles. Huh? I can fix that.
This crew is awful. They're all sociopaths.
Yeah, this is a pretty terrible crew, everything considered.
My God.
There you have it, episode 9 of Star Aliens. It's weakest episode so far, but also I suppose the funniest to review. So there you go.
Several linings and all.